everybody, it's Christine, and today I'm continuing with my stitching series, and I'm going to talk a little bit about string art stitching. I love to add string art to my projects, and so I thought I would show you my process for doing that, along with the stitching that's involved. So I'm starting off with that same butterfly template that you saw me use the other day to just do a back stitch. And I am going around with my paper piercer and just piercing holes all the way around it. String art is not hard to incorporate, especially if you're not afraid to do stitching. It is something that, like, if you're going to do it, you don't want it to be a really overly complicated design, because you don't want to overlap gaps and all that stuff. And so, like, this butterfly was a perfect shape. Circles are easy, hearts are easy, most letters are reasonable, and you know, you can even find templates for this kind of thing online. I just like to wing it, then it looks different from everybody else's, and I don't want to spend the time looking for a template, so I just do it on my own. So you can see I went all the way around and got that all poked, and then now I'm going to go ahead and get my floss ready. So I had a question about how I separate my embroidery floss. I don't know if there's really a trick to it. I just go slowly, and you'll kind of see I stick my pointer finger there in the middle and just kind of pull across it, and if I go too fast, I'm going to burn my fingers, so that makes me go nice and slow, which helps prevent getting knots and stuff. But listen, if you have a great trick for this, let me know in the comments, because there are viewers who want to know. So if you have a great trick for separating your floss without it getting tangled, please share. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to start going across my butterfly and adding in the string art element. So I'm just going from one side to the next. Generally, I go across, and then whatever hole I go down, I come up right next to it, especially in the beginning, because doing this kind of thing takes a lot of embroidery floss. So I don't want to be wasteful any more than is absolutely necessary. So just making those simple connections going across. Like I said earlier, there is no real rhyme or reason to it. I just kind of eyeball it and say, okay, well, now it's time to go a long one. Okay, now I'm going to just go across a wing. And at the very end, I'll evaluate whether or not I've done enough, if there's an area that looks overwhelmed, if there's an area that looks underwhelmed, and just kind of fill in any gaps that I see that are necessary. Now, if you're doing like a circle or a heart that are a more basic shape, you totally can just do the string art element. I like to add in the back stitch and do the whole outline whenever I'm doing something that's a little more complicated. And tomorrow I'm going to do a layout share showing you a bunch of stitched on layouts, so you'll be able to see in that video where I've gone more complicated and where I've gone less complicated, and therefore not done an outline. It definitely adds more time to the process, because string art itself is pretty fast, but when you stitch all the way around the outline, that definitely adds time to it. So you need to take that into consideration as you're picking a shape that you want to do. So now you can see here I've filled all the way around with my back stitch, and now I'm just going to show you this layout's going to end up having 3 butterflies on it. So I'm just going to show you myself adding on those other 2 butterflies, and then at the very end I will show you all 3 butterflies. But teaser, I am not going to show you the whole finalized layout. You will have to come back here on the 15th and see what I've done when it is shared completely at the Stuck Sketches blog. They'll have a new sketch up that day, and I will have the whole layout up then. So be sure, if you're curious where I ended up going with this, to check back then and see what I did. The whole thing ends up taking, I'd say I probably spent about an hour doing all of the stitching and the string art. So again, it's a time commitment. It 100% is, but I have never been disappointed with the outcome, no matter how long I've put into it. And I'm going to show you some layouts tomorrow. I have one that took me an entire 8-hour road trip to do. So, you know, the time commitment is definitely there. So here's the final thing. We will see you tomorrow.